Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday, early December. Christmas is around the corner.
My goodness. Are you done shedding?
Shedding?
The
What do you
year
mean?
of the snake.
Ah.
You know, we're getting towards the end of it. So and I know we have the year of the horse coming up. I have no idea what that even means. So I'm going to have to go educate myself a little bit to prepare.
Well, we'll stay positive, all good things. I've been on a little bit of a speaking rampage. This is my third day of talking. I know you think I talk all the time, but actually here I really don't. But Friday night I had the opening reception for my display over at the Cherokee County Arts Council, and so I spoke there. And then yesterday I was on a panel discussion about body dysmorphia and everyone's perspectives on it and experiences and all of that. And then today I'm going to interview you. This is going to be your episode, so I'm very excited about this.
I have some questions for you too. So
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. But your event looked amazing. I saw the pictures on Facebook, and like I've seen so many people react to those pictures before because they were hanging in your studio here, and when we would do events, and I would, hear people talk about them afterwards. And so I I totally get like how impactful they can be to people. But I'm curious, like, how did people in rural mountain US embrace these pictures compared to, the bustling city down here? Were
Yeah, that's a
they
good question. I mean, I will say an art gallery draws fans of art. So I can't answer that question like as far as what does the whole county think? I don't know. But I can tell you that the folks that showed up at the event were very excited to see it, and they, stuck around to hear me talk, which was really cool. I was able to create like an interactive portion where I said, like the whole story behind it, that the whole purpose of it was, if I don't tell you who's who, if I don't tell you who's Democrat, who's Republican, who's gay, who's straight, whatever, if I don't tell you, can you just see the humanity in these people, because 99% of the pictures on the wall are clients and not models, right? And even the models are real people too. Like, people forget that.
They are.
They're real people too. But so then as part of the game, I said, or as part of the the talk, I said, okay, let's play a game. Let's assign some labels and see how you do. So I said, which one of these people do you think is a military combat veteran? And of course, everyone looked around and they saw, like a guy that had like lots of abs, and they saw some like really fierce women. And so I had everybody walk around the room and stand to where they thought. And of course, nobody picked the person that it was, because the person that it was like the softest, sweetest person laying in a bed of ferns and things like that, So it was a nice exercise on what's your unconscious bias. What do you not even realize that you're categorizing, that you need to pause and redefine. So, my experience, it was very well received. Nobody threw eggs at me. So far, so good. But it's been, I have to say, for really having been, part of this community only for a year and a half, it was just really nice. It was really warm and really welcoming, and I was really happy about it. So yeah, I think it's cool.
Oh,
Ooh,
look who's here! Look who's here!
Good morning,
Noemi. I was actually seeing her on, I think, the Facebook, and just thinking like, I haven't seen you in forever, Noemi. You need to come to one of. I know Graciela's not here, but you can still come to the events at my place. It's really close to where, it's not far from where we were before. So I would love to see
And
it
she
again.
got these new pictures done. She looks so beautiful. I love it. She's always on top of her branding. I'm so proud of you, girl. Anyway, that was an aside for everyone else. If you have good branding, show me because I do love it.
Yeah.
So how was your weekend?
So my weekend was it was good, and um my newsletter got out late this morning, so not everybody got to read it, and I'm sorry if I'm um exposing the surprise of it before you get to read it, but Friday night I was working on some art, and I wanted to keep going. So I was staying up like way later. I'm an old lady. I go to bed early, and no, I was up late trying to finish this piece. And when I got up, I just was tired and I wasn't very mindful. And I jammed my left pinky toe into the leg of the sofa, and it is now purple and swollen and it's broken, which is crazy because thank you, Noemi, sending positive vibes to my toes. But the crazy thing was, like a couple months ago, not once, but twice, I jammed the right pinky toe on the same sofa leg. I'm like, the sofa has to go. It's cursed.
Move the
Um,
sofa. That's my first piece of advice.
the thing is that, I live in this tiny house. It's finding furnishings that fit and all of that are, but the sofa, it does need to go. But anyway, so here I am, like, now I'm hobbling around on this foot, and like it's swollen up even worse than the other one, and I think it's because of how the leg is, like the way I hit it is a little bit different, whatever. So it's cool outside, and now I have to wear open shoes because my toe won't fit inside a closed shoe right now. So, but
Wow.
so if that wasn't enough, I think I shared before, I've started making sourdough bread. My friend Bethany got me some starter and gave me some lessons. And so this weekend I did my second attempt. I'm like, I understand why people give up on this because you think you're doing everything right. And like, the bread is completely edible and delicious, but it's not like perfection that you want. So one of the things, when you make sourdough bread, you have to score the bread, and you use something called a lame to do that, which is essentially a stick with a razor blade on it. And so I finally got a lame. I didn't have a lame for my first one, and I understand why people want a lame because it is so much easier to score the bread with a razor blade than with a knife. And so anyway, but I couldn't figure out how to get the blade on the lame, and so I, of course, go to the University of YouTube, and of course someone shows, and it's like, oh, it's so easy. And so I go and I put the lame on the bread or on the stick, and like it wasn't sitting quite right. It wasn't straight. And stupid me goes and grabs it by the side to adjust it. And there's like, it's crime scene. There is like blood everywhere. I said, don't tell Trent, but I think there's blood in the bread too. But anyway, I'm not serving it to anybody else, and it's all good.
Oh my
But
God.
so I had two very sore fingers here. Luckily, it was my left hand, not my right hand. But like I
There's
said, the
something
bread's
going
not
on with
perfect.
your extremities are suffering right now.
Yes, yes.
Maybe it's that winter pull to be inward, maybe smaller
Well,
movements,
and
slower
so, I was like, okay, what is the message here? And, of course it is slow down, be more present, be more intentional. And I was like, of course, the same stuff I tell my clients every day. And, but anyway, so that was
ain't,
my weekend.
ain't it the truth? Wow. Well, I'm excited for today's topic. I know we've talked about this in person at some of our in-person events quite a bit, but I don't think we've ever done a podcast on it. And I love this message, and I love playing devil's advocate for this message too. So I think this is going to be a very fun episode. So we called it Love What You Want to Hate, a radical shift in consciousness. Let's tell folks how this phrase even came up. How did you even come up with love what you want to hate?
So, I'll go back in the day. I feel so weird when I say back in the day. It makes me feel really old. But I have these spirit guides. They are blue beings, like think Avatar, like, and they've been with me for quite a long time. But a couple years ago, they started pressuring me to do live channeling events. And, when I think of live channeling events, I'm thinking of Abraham and Esther Hick and Bashar. And I'm like, Blue Ones, you guys are crazy. I am not doing that in front of people. And they just kept pushing and they kept pushing. And I said to them, fine, I will deliver your messages to people if you want. And you don't get to take over my body and like speak through me. I will sit there. You tell me what you want me to tell them. I will tell them, but I am not doing, no, I'm used to saying a previous life. Yes, there's those too. But so anyway, so I finally agreed, and we held these events in the studio of Graciela's that we speak of so often. And I don't remember which one this message came from, and I don't remember like what triggered them to have me deliver that message, but the message that they said was love what you want to hate. I have a lot of things to say on that, but I'm curious, as you, the person sitting in the audience when this message came through, like what thoughts came through to you when that message was delivered?
I lost you there because I don't know if it's your Wi-Fi or mine, but you said I'm curious, and then I lost you.
I'm curious how you received that message when it first came through. That is something I've been curious about for the whole audience. When you say something like that, like, I think if I was hearing the message as opposed to just being the conduit of the message, it would have hit me a little bit differently. So I'm curious, you receiving that message. And just like the audience that's listening to this right now has just heard the message, love what you want to hate. How does that sit?
Yeah. So on the first layer of it is, oh my goodness, this is so profound. Wow. If I could do that, if I could really just love the thing that I want to hate, how much, easier would life be, right? My just experiences would be so much smoother. And then the second layer that hits me is like, wait a minute, but what about like with that particular person who was like really mean to me? I don't know if I could love that. Or what about this particular group of people that's trying to, hurt my group of people, right? Like, I don't know if I could love that. And so then, even though my first gut reaction is like, this is awesome, my next reaction is like, wait a minute, is this really possible? Can it happen? Can I do that? So that's kind of my initial reaction to that. Yeah.
Yeah, Noemi said, embrace discomfort comes to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because this is the thing, like the statement comes out, and then there's so many different layers to it. I think for me personally, like as a healer, the first thing comes to mind, and I think about like you in your work as well, and talking about the body dysmorphia yesterday, but the first space that comes to for me is we all hate on ourselves so much. We all judge ourselves so much. And if we could switch that to love, and I've said this many times, if we could all just fully love ourselves, all the problems in the world would disappear. And yeah, that's a whole nother topic.
But that's a great starting point. Like, you know, when I think about those initial thoughts that I had, right? Like if loving my enemy is maybe feels like too big of a mountain, could I just start with loving myself? And isn't that a substantial enough mountain to really get started, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And with that, you know, the world is our mirror. Everything that comes in front of us is our mirror. And what we're hating on somebody else is a representation of something. You know, it's not like the exact thing, but it does represent something within ourselves that we hate. And you had spoken about like when people do mean things to you, like how do you love them? And you know, I have two very big personal examples, and I'll just share one of them. But many years ago, professionally, an ex-employer first wrote me the most horrible letter I had ever read in my life. Like there was so much hate in that letter. And my good friend at the time, I like shared it with her, and she's like, you need to go to the police and get a restraining order. Like that's how bad the letter was. And shortly after that came a cease and desist from an attorney. And you know, this is over 20 years ago. So that version of me was like freaking out, like, oh my God, like someone's sending the law after me. And so I sought out some professional assistance there, and they were like, calm down, relax. Like, this is probably going to be absolutely nothing. It's just, the intent is just to scare you, which obviously it has done. It served its purpose. And we're just going to sit tight and see what happens. And so I went back and I sat with it and realized like all of this was just coming from this wounded little boy. And having worked for him, I knew a lot of his history. And, you know, I say all the time, like how blessed I have been in my life. You know, coming in, I chose amazing parents. They loved on me so much, you know, like, well, I'll leave it at that. This man I know did not live that same childhood. You know, he had also been in the military, in the Marines, like that'll mess you up. It was just all of his hurt and his pain that he was throwing out on me. And I said, what this man needs is love. And so from that moment on, every day I prayed for him. I sent him love. And all of the things that he was threatening just disappeared and went away. And years later, I actually ran into him at a professional course. And like at first I had like this moment of panic, like, oh no, like, because it was going to be the first time I'd seen him face to face since all of that went down. And he was completely fine and normal. And so I was like, wow, because it could have been so easy for me to hate him. It could, like, that would be the natural instinct place to go. And I went there for a minute, and then I sat and I like recognized what was actually on, and I just sent love. And, you know, that also makes me aware that everybody that's behaving meanly, ugly, whatever towards other people, they're not doing it because their life is full of love and joy. They're just expressing their fears and their pains outwards towards somebody else. And so the whole situation is a lack of love. So wherever there's hate, there needs to be love to heal it. And can you be brave enough, strong enough, courageous enough to be the person that puts love in the space?
Yeah. I love that. And it's such a great example. And we talked a little bit about that at the exhibit that I was telling you about, because I said, could you see the human, like if this picture of this person is completely neutral, can you see the humanity in them? Yes, of course. It's simple. It's easy. You see eyes, you see a face, you see tenderness, right? You really see a lot of yourself when you're looking at something like that, right? But then if I tell you, you know, that this person did XYZ and that changes how you feel about them, can you be aware of those things and still see the humanity in the person, right? And so like in the example that I gave you of like, oh, but what about somebody that's done something mean to me, right? Like the one you just gave, can I be aware and still protect myself, right? Like I'm not going to keep putting myself in danger because I want to love someone, but can I offer someone spiritually, energetically love and support and recognition of their humanity, and also not let them, you know, burn my house down and kill me and, you know, that sort of a thing, right? Like, I think for me, that's really one of the distinctions is like, okay, how, you know, if I'm protecting myself, am I still projecting love? You know, does love necessarily mean, you know, that one phrase I love, like you don't have to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm seeing it. How do you see that play out?
Um, you know, and obviously there's extremes of this situation. Even though my friend thought that this man was threatening physical harm to me, um, I knew in my heart that I didn't have to worry about any physical danger coming my way. This was more professional danger. Like, was he going to ruin my career in some way? And you know, when you get yourself into a more violent space or situation, like obviously someone's pointing a gun to your head, like I don't think going up and giving them a hug is maybe the best solution. Although I've seen crazier things, you know, happen and work out beautifully in the end. Um, so I don't think in any way, shape, or form did the blue being say, you know, put yourself at, you know, at risk of life and limb to send love. But when you were speaking of that, it's also reminded me, I've seen this more than once, documentaries on situations of murder where the family of the victim has ended up reaching out to the murderer with love and compassion and forgiveness, which I like that. It blows me away when someone can do that, but it's when you see what happens when they do that, it's the most beautiful thing. And I think another side of this that I know not everybody is there, but I am so sure of like the truth of who each of us is that we are one and we are spirit, we are energy. Like this 3D body existence that we're experiencing right now is not the truth of who we are. Like the easiest way I explain it is we're playing a game here. And you know, when we die in this game, like we don't cease to exist. We continue on. And you know, and I feel like the goal of the game, like how we win this game, is by returning to love. And so being in that space, I think makes it easier for me to choose love in all situations. It makes it easier for me to forgive and move forward. Um, but also being in that space of knowing that what that person is saying, what that person is doing, if it's not love, it's not really them. It's just how the circumstances of their life have set them up to play at that moment. And so knowing that truth makes it easier for me to extend love to all. There's also this idea that people do choose to come into this life to be the bad person, to help other people learn the lessons. And it's like, if that is the case, like, if you were given the option to help people really advance and grow and learn, but you had to come into this life and do these awful things, could you make that choice to choose to be the person that everybody hates? Like that, I think that takes a really powerful soul to make that choice, to come in and be the one that, because we come here and we just want everybody to like us. But no, you're going to go in and do these horrific things and everybody's going to hate you and your name is going to be associated with evil. And like, how do you make that choice?
Well, and it's interesting because you've seen stories of people that, get saddled with some horrible disease and their health begins to turn when they start sitting in gratitude, right? Thank you for this horrible illness that woke me up to, a better possibility of health, or thank you to, the ex that was in your life that almost ruined you and gave you the opportunity to open your eyes and see a different experience, So as much as we're constantly trying to avoid the bad, there's some gratitude to attach to the bad because it does show you the good, right? The duality of everything. And what you were talking about reminds me a lot. I don't know if you've seen the Compassion Prison Project. It's such a powerful organization. And they have a 6-minute video on YouTube. I know I've talked about this before. If you just go find Compassion Prison Project, and they take, I think it's like 100 inmates in a men's prison, stand them all in a big giant circle. And as they read off life situations, they each step closer into the middle of the circle. And what you end up realizing at the end is that, all of these men were kind of never stood a chance because of all their life circumstances, right? And that's not to say that what they did wasn't bad. It's not to say that, there isn't some sort of, punishment, right? Like being in jail. But can we serve that, redemption, right? With a side of compassion as well, right? And can we go back to the root and say, had we offered compassion when they were 5, would they be the, inmates that they are when they're 30? So that to me is like such a huge example of how you can acknowledge, yes, someone is doing something bad, and also they deserve our compassion as well, that's really powerful. And one of the things that I saw that you had written down was how this teaching is about sovereignty and not submission. And I want you to talk about that a little bit more because, like I said earlier, my first reaction is like, oh, this is great, I can cure the world. And then my second reaction is, wait a minute, does that mean I need to submit to the person that's hurting me? Does that mean that I need to not defend myself or lower myself? And so how is it submission versus sovereignty? Like, I like the idea of sovereignty. Talk about that a little bit.
So when we sit in hate, like we think that we are harming the other person by not giving them our love or, whatever that, we're punishing them. Mm-hmm. And the truth is like the person that is harmed the most by putting out that energy of hatred, of anger, of fear, of whatever, the person that is harmed the most is ourselves. And so, and I always say, feel your feels. Like, you never want to ignore the anger, ignore the fear, ignore the hate. Like, you want to see it and sit in it and feel it. But then you have a choice. And your choice is where the power is. And so when you can step out and say, okay, I've hated all I want to hate. And now I'm ready to return to love. Like that is you reclaiming your power, reclaiming your sovereignty. And because it's a choice. And as long as you can make your choice, you have your power. But when you sit in that space of hate, you've given your power away. And again, like when someone wrongs us, when someone harms us, when someone commits a crime that harms somebody else, and I say that because there's so many like crimes out there that shouldn't be considered crimes because they're not harming anybody. It's not to say that that is right. It's not to say it's okay. It's not to say that there shouldn't be some kind of repercussions for that happening. But if we are going to make progress in not those things happening anymore, we get to come to the space of love and compassion. And, you know, you were talking about prisons, like most of our prison systems, everybody is in that space of punish these people. And you hear people outraged because, you know, they've got healthcare and cable TV and all the good things and 3 meals a day. And, you know, no, they're horrible people. They should be, you know, they should be living in squalor. How is that going to change the world? Like, if it stopped people from doing crimes, like crimes would have been stopped a long time ago. I mean, the death penalty does not stop other people from doing crimes. What will stop people from doing crimes is if humanity can return to love. And, you know, if someone truly loves themselves and feels loved by others, they are not going to harm other people. But if they're lacking love, they're going to express that in some way.
So how do you make that shift? How do you look at the thing that's harming you or harming others, the thing that you've labeled as evil or unreasonable or dangerous? And how do you start to break the ice to love something that feels so incredibly dangerous and wrong and, you know, bad?
I think it's different in so many situations. And like I said at the beginning of this episode, I think the most important place to start is loving ourselves more. The more we love ourselves, the easier it is for us to have love and compassion for others. You know, I'm thinking, you know, someone that's living in an abusive situation, the most important thing you can do in that situation is love yourself enough to get yourself out of that situation. There is also, you know, that person that's abusing you, that's harming you. Again, just like my ex-employer who was threatening me and saying horrible things about me to myself, to other people, having that recognition that he's not doing that because he's an evil person. He's doing that because he is hurt himself. And I know, like, my act of leaving, working for him, you know, was a hit to him on some level. Like, okay, she left me, she abandoned me. And there's him seeing me experience joy and freedom because that was when I went to work for myself. And, you know, someone who's hurting doesn't like to see other people not hurting. And so what do? They try and make them hurt too, because what do we say? Misery loves company. And, you know, so ultimately, first steps, I think, are where can you love yourself more? You know, start recognizing where you're not loving yourself. And then just start with baby steps with other people. And, where do you find yourself judging other people? And can you just simply pause and recognize this person that you're judging has pain, and can I just send them some compassion? And it doesn't mean that you need to go up to them and give them a hug. Like, it can simply be a prayer, hey, God, can you shine some light down on this person? I see they're hurting. And but just start with baby steps. And it's, find a place that looks like, okay, I recognize a hate there, but I can easily shift that one. And then that will make the next one easier. And it will make it easier for you to start to recognize how the situation is a lack of love and compassion, and find a way that you can put some love and compassion there. And sometimes it is through an action, and sometimes it is just through a shift in your thought, sending a prayer, sending some Reiki, whatever that looks like. There's a lot of options out there. And if someone's sitting in a situation and they're really struggling with, how do I start making steps towards love in this situation, reach out. I would love to help you just start to shift the perspective on it and take, it's like you don't have to instantly go from hate to I love everything. It's possible, but I that's definitely not easy. And so just keep taking baby steps in the right direction.
Yeah. And I think awareness is such a big part of it. For me, and I'm sure many people, we feel things in our bodies, right? I know I've talked about when my kids were little, I would always tell them, pay attention to your belly, pay attention to your core. If you feel something in there, it's where you feel butterflies when you're in love, and it's where you feel contraction when you feel scared. And, it tells you if you're doing something wrong, it tells you if you're doing something right. So when you hear something or when you feel something, take note of where you're feeling it in your body. And I always love the question. I thought it was so profound. I can't even remember who taught it to me, but when someone said, when was the first time you remember feeling that way? Right. And so for me, any one of my bajillion triggers, whenever one comes up, I'm like, first thing that happens is I feel it in my body. I feel a contraction, and I feel like, uh-oh, red flag, hang on. And I talk about this all the time. Sometimes I have to say, brain, thank you so much. Thank you for trying to protect me from the danger. However, what you're thinking about is this terrible bad thing that happened when we were little. And that's not the case right now. It's not terrible bad anymore. Or maybe it's not as bad as you're making it out to be, because, right, my brain loves to be on high alert. I'm the most protected person ever, because my brain is always like, watch out for the falling trees, watch out for the ice, watch out for the snow, watch out for the cliff, watch out for the bad guys, watch out for the good guys, And sometimes I just have to say, okay, hang tight. I feel this in my body. Is it really real? What am I actually recognizing? And maybe what I'm recognizing is something that reminds me of something else, but that's not really how that person is showing up, right? That's not really the situation that we're in. So, and I know that's pretty vague, but I'm trying to cover all the bases. My point is, if you feel the contraction in your body, ask yourself questions. Is it real? Is it actually happening? Check with your neighbor. Hey, I got this vibe off of this person. Is it just me? Am I not seeing what, how come everybody else sees in it and I don't see it, or whatnot? Like you said, reach to your community and see, what perspective am I missing? I ask that all the time. I've always loved debates. I've always loved playing devil's advocate. And because I learned so much, right? Trying to understand a different perspective. And so sometimes I say, explain to me why you believe something that's so completely opposite to something to me that feels so obvious, right? Because if it feels obvious to me on my side, then it must feel obvious to you on your side. And why is that? And then open up and understand. And, it doesn't mean agree, but understand is a big part of it. For me, that has helped me a lot.
It is possible for us to both be good people and have different opinions on things.
Yeah. And, one of the things we talked about was, in theory, right, everybody that makes a decision is making a decision that they feel is either in their best interest or their family's best interest or their children's best interest. Now, we have different definitions of what's in someone's best interest, but at the end of the day, we all love our family. We all love our children. We all love our parents. I mean, give or take, right? But we do things, like, generally speaking, I live my life and make choices that either make me feel good or benefit the people that I love, right? I'm not making choices to feel bad. I'm not making choices to hurt, right? So even if you're, and that doesn't mean I don't hurt people, right? Like, I'm sure, well, I know I've said things that have hurt people, but I didn't say it to be hurtful. I said it because I thought I was being loving, and I just screwed up, right? Like, I just made a mistake. So as much as I feel like, okay, let me give grace to someone that I might not understand their perspective, I also ask for grace, right? Like, if you see me saying and doing something that doesn't sit well with you, like, give me a second, like, give me a little bit of love, give me a little bit of compassion. Like, maybe I just misspoke, maybe I screwed up, maybe I'm not perfect, right? Like, so remember that what you want to receive is what you should put out there in the world as well. You know, treat others as you should want to be treated, right? I mean, so
Absolutely. The other thing that you brought up earlier in the show, and I just want to reiterate it because it's also another baby step that you can start taking in the right direction, is looking at, like, those situations that you've experienced in the past that you hate, and start to recognize, like, what were the gifts from those situations? What can I be grateful for from those situations? And typically the gift is learning and growing, and but all of those situations, there's an opportunity in them for us. And maybe it wasn't fun going through it, maybe it hurt going through it, and I hate that I broke my toe, and I love that on the other side of it, I was able to remind myself that I need to slow down, that I need to be more present, and I need to have more compassion for myself. Like, all of those, even though I'm sitting in the seat where I'm often teaching people these things, I need to be reminded too, because I'm still here in this game playing this 3D human that is not perfect and needs reminders. And so, sometimes just taking a situation that you have a lot of charge on, like, can you sit and look at it from a different perspective and see what did you gain from that situation? So,
yeah. So I'm going to issue a little challenge here to our listeners, because this has been, by the way, folks, we are on 43 minutes. This might be our longest Graciela Julietta episode. So obviously we're really passionate about this, but I'd love in the comments to see some examples. What can you do this week? Do it and then tell us about it, right? Like, can you find that most irritating person, in your job, in your family, in your life, and can you name 3 things that you can appreciate about them, right? Or the impact that they've had in your life. And I think I talked about this a while back. Recently I had a whole family thing happen, and I realized, what, I could use a little therapy tune up, and I went back and I started some EMDR therapy, and I feel so much better. And I'm like, man, had this, quote, terrible thing not happened, I wouldn't have been aware that I needed to do that, So, so thank you to that person that said horrible things. Because it reminded me that, what, I can go back and I can still grow and learn, and I can, work on the things for myself. Other people, they are who they are, and they've got their own journey to be on, but I can release that charge, and find myself in that sovereignty. So I appreciate today's episode so much, and I would love to hear how you guys are living it as well.
Awesome. just quick reminders to everybody. We have our retreat coming up in January 9th through the 11th in Sebastian, Florida. Yeah, it's like a month away. So it's time to sign up. And, you know, if you want to learn more about how to incorporate more love into your life and release the hate, release the fear, come join us for that. And you got any other reminders for them?
That's it. Just take care of yourself.
All right. So with that, I will wish you all a magical day.
All right.